Hello everyone and welcome to my library. If you're new here, hello, my name is Chinsia. If you hear rustling in the background, that is my dog, she's also saying hello. And if you're not new here and you're one of my lovely regulars, hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well. So this is a video I said I was going to film last month. It's the continuation of my birthday book haul. I turned 30 last month, showcased the books that I got for my 30th birthday, but I had a voucher that I was waiting for some books to arrive, so I'd ordered some books with this book voucher I'd been given, but then I was given 2 more late book vouchers. So I have more than 5 books to show you. I have a few more than that. I'm so happy to spend the money. As someone who doesn't spend money throughout the year, when you give me book vouchers, they won't stay there for long. I will spend them. This is why I do no buy year. If I have money for books, I will spend it, unless I have very strict rules in place in which I cannot. But book tokens is not one of them. So I have a stack of books here that I got with the book vouchers that I like to share with you. And I will link all the books down below, so if you want to read the blurbs, I mean, I'll read the blurbs out to you anyway, but if you want to check them out, if you want to buy yourself a copy of them, they're all affiliate links down below. If you do buy a book from that link, you'll be supporting my channel, but just a clarification. And anyway, let's get into it. So the first one's very off-key. Well, for people who don't know me personally, oh, also, Christmas book jumper is out. Just realised I'm wearing that purposefully for this video. But the first one's off-key if you don't know me very well. You don't know that I'm into the macabre, the dark, all that jazz. And I found this, I went, yes, I really want this. This is called The Frighteners by Peter Laws. Why We Love Monsters, Ghosts, Death and Gore. But I'll read you the wee blurb. Peter Laws is an ordained reverend. He's supposed to be a professional nice person. So why does he spend his spare time watching gruesome horror films, shooting zombies and writing crime novels? What is it that makes so many of us seek out to be disgusted and freaked out? Grab your crucifixes, pack up your silver bullets and join the sinister minister on his strange, scary and often hilarious quest to understand what our macabre tendencies tend to teach us about humanity, society and spirituality. That sounds right up my street, so there's one. The next one I wasn't expecting to spend on my voucher. I was spending my voucher in the bookshop with a friend of mine, and they pointed out and looked over and went, that looks like a book that you'd be interested in. I hadn't even heard of this. Why are things that are relevant to my research keep popping up? I have no idea. It's very irritating. Thankfully, it didn't pop up at a time where I didn't have the money. I had a book token, and so I got These Great Athenians. This is by Valentine Carter, Retold Passages for Seldom Heard Voices. It's kind of cliche, isn't it, at the moment? Everyone's telling about the voices that are not spoken about, and therefore there's so many of them out there, basically everyone's been covered. But again, it's interesting to see how people do it, why they do it, what particularly their narratives are, like what are their motives for these certain voices and what they choose to emphasize. These Great Athenians weaves together the voices of many isolated women in Homer's Odyssey. That's been done a lot. Let's face it, admit it, it's been done a lot recently, so I'm very picky about it. I have like very high standards because most people who do this don't do it well. My personal opinion. With deft hands, Carter playfully unravels Homer's work to restitch the stories of the great Athenians and question, how do those without a voice find freedom within a world of men? So Charlotte Higgins recently released a book, which is an anthology of Greek myths, which I cannot fault structurally, called The Greek Myths by Charlotte Higgins. Again, the focus was on women, and I have a lot to criticise about that. I thought it wasn't done well at all. I mean, it may be done well if you're not looking for something quite significant or cultural, but I wrote a whole review on Goodreads about it. I can't really go into more depth about it because it's a book that I've just submitted some writing for my supervisor in my PhD because I went really into depth about what I found problematic about how certain things were structured and layered and all that jazz. So that's kind of what this is not so promising. So let's see who does better. The big book Charlotte Higgins is one, or this little tiny one. I'll be curious to see. I'm not someone who enjoys books that are claiming to be feminist when they're really not. They're just marketed as such, and it's this weird, strange, palatable feminism that's easily marketable but really does nothing for the movement whatsoever and is actually kind of just tropey. Just my first, and sometimes more damaging, as I found with the Charlotte Higgins one. No offense to Charlotte Higgins, her writing is sublime. Her structuring is out of this world. Like, how she technically wove the stories together is genius. She has done the best anthology in terms of structure, in my opinion. in terms of execution, doesn't matter. What she chose to showcase in the myths, I have a lot of issues with, which I won't go into depth with, because obviously may go into thesis, may not, I don't know, but you know, all that jazz. So let's see who does better. The next one I got, again, has been on my reading list for a long time. My friend also, when I bought it in the bookshop with her, by the way, I keep going in and out of focus. I'm too pale for the lighting, okay? So it can't see me anytime, so that's why that is. But this is Sylvia Federici's Caliban and the Witch, Women and the Body and the Primitive Accumulation. I'm just more curious about this. It's nothing to do with my thesis at all, but I will read it. A cult classic since its publication in the early years of the century, Sylvia's history of the body in the transition to capitalism, moving from the peasant revolts to the late Middle Ages through the European witch hunts, the rise of scientific rationalism and the colonialism of the Americans. It gives a panoramic account of the often horrific violence with which the unruly human material of pre-capitalist societies was transformed into a set of predictable and uncontrollable mechanisms. That was a fucking long sentence. It is a study of the indigenous traditions crushed, of the inclusion of women's reproductive powers within the nuclear family, and how our modern world is forged in blood. That's like really up my street, to be quite honest. That sounds everything. So hopefully that's as good as it sounds. My friend said it was. Then we're going on to another book voucher. So this one, again, this came out a while ago, but it's Greek Poems to the Gods, Hymns from Homer to Patroclus by Barry Powell. This is just another translation. I always get curious about comparing translations, selections that people do, but this one's in colour, which sounds really like babyish, but you know, when you see images in colour alongside the poems that he's selected, it's just such a novelty. Also, I love, they've included my favourite mosaics of Poseidon. Sorry, I'm looking at it myself, but I realise that you can't see it. Oh well, I tried to show it you, but again, I'm just really curious about people's selections, what they choose, how they translate it, all that jazz. I do believe it's Powell's translation. I could be wrong, actually, now I'm saying this out loud. Maybe he's just, yeah, it's his translation. I was right. But yeah, I always just get curious. I just love comparing people's translations. I can't read the ancient Greek, but I just love seeing what people emphasize, what they take out, kind of how they word things. Translation in and of itself is a skill. And it's, again, it's a marker of a writer. It's its own little category of writing. It's not just plain text. They have to use their own creative flair with it without going too off the track. So I just really enjoy it. So that's how that is. The next one's a big popular one in the market right now. Everyone's talking about it. It's one of those that's got a lot of press, popular writer, all that jazz. Beautifully illustrated. Let's see if it lives up to the hype. It is Jessie Burton's Medusa. And this is the girl behind the myth. And it's nice to see Medusa is given a lot of space to actually express oneself. Sorry, I'm getting really annoyed. Basically, Charlotte Higgins' work gives Medusa 3 lines. So you can tell how I feel about that. But anyway, it's nice to actually have an entire book dedicated to Medusa. Fascinating character. Really enjoy it. And again, I just love seeing how people retell this. Oh, I should read the blurb, shouldn't I? I forgot I was doing that. Let's do that. So, exiled to a far-flung island by the whims of the gods, Medusa has little company except for the snakes that adorn her head instead of her hair. Well, we all knew that. But when a charmed, beautiful boy called Perseus arrives on the island, her lonely existence is disrupted with a force of supernova unleashing desire, love and betrayal. Talking directly to the reader and capturing the intoxication of the impossible romance, Jessie Burton's Medusa is a deeply moving story about consent, the abuse of power, beauty and ugliness, and being comfortable in one's own skin. So again, it seems like a very modern take, modern injective narrative. Oh my goodness. My friend Meg would love this picture. I wonder if it'll show up. It's a load of octopuses hung from the ceiling. Meg will be all over that, so hopefully she sees this video and sees that. The next one, again, I was with another friend at another bookshop, and as we were leaving the bookshop, this is a friend who also got me the book voucher, so she knows. I didn't spend it then and there, but we were there and we saw it in person. And I was like, damn it, another book's come out that may be relevant. So I used her voucher on this. So Alice, if you're watching, thank you. This is Women and Other Monsters, Building a New Mythology by Jess Zimmerman. Can you see there's a real trend, isn't there? There's a lot of books coming out about the same thing, but it's very useful for me because I get to compare and rip them apart, basically. I get to be very critical about them all the time, which is like my jam. I love being critical against literature. I save up all the pent-up rage I have about humanity and just put it into literature. Nothing personal, authors, don't get me wrong. The folklore that has shaped the dominant culture teems with frightening female creatures. In our language, in our stories, many written by men, we underline the idea that women who step out of bounds, who are angry or greedy or ambitious, are overtly sexual or not sexual enough, aren't just outside the norm, they're unnatural, morally deformed, monstrous. But maybe the traits we've been told that make us dangerous and undesirable are actually our greatest strengths. Often, women try to avoid the feeling of monstrousness, of being grotesquely alien, by tamping down those qualities that we've been told fall outside our natural femininity. If being unattracted to men makes us a blood-freezing gorgon, we're willing to suffer to be beautiful. If having an appetite makes us all-consuming vortex of Charybdis, we're ready to starve. But monsters also get to do what other female characters, damsels, love interests, and other most heroines do not. Monsters get to be complete, unrestrained, and larger than life. Stepping outside the rules our culture sets on women may make you a monster, but that means you live more freely, no longer bound by rules. After seeing where compliance gets us, harassed, shut out, and ruled by predators, women are ready to try something new. Fearsome, self-assured, ravenous. The time of the female monster is at hand. Though personal and critical perspectives on 11 mythological creatures, including Medusa and the Harpies and Furies, and, God, it's a long one, isn't it? The Sphinx, Jess Zimmerman brings readers face to face with the inner monsters, the unacceptable, unfeminine traits that they've tried to suppress, all their secret teeth and snake hair and horns. Through our own story and her unique take on mythology, she illuminates the strengths of monstrous role models and guides women and others to evaluate their relationships with traits like hunger, anger, ugliness, and ambition. So, again, I hadn't heard of this. It was just like on display in the bookshop when I was with Alice, and yeah, that sounds, again, if it's written well and it's analysed well, I'm very interested in it. Also, it's just illustrated. I've just spotted it has illustrations in it. And also, more importantly, it has a resources section. That's what's mainly important. Include a bibliography and resources, because that's what everyone reads when reading non-fiction. So, grateful for that. Thank you, Alice. Also, what you got me, Alice, is Irving Finkel's The First Ghosts. Again, total left wing. Why did I suddenly go from one area to the other? I'm in the spooky mood, as you can tell. I'm always in a spooky mood. So this, again, is basically the history of ghosts, the idea of ghosts, when they originated and all that jazz. So there are very few things more in common across cultures than the belief in ghosts. Ghosts inhibit something of the very essence of what it is to be human. Whether we personally believe or not, we are aware of ghosts and a rich mythology surrounding them. They have inspired, fascinated, and frightened us for centuries, yet most of us are only familiar with the vengeful apparitions of Shakespeare or the ghastly spectres haunting the pages of the 19th century Gothic literature. But their origins are much older. The first ghost takes us back to the very beginning, the world-renowned authority of the cuneiform, the form of writing on clay tablets, which dates back to 3400 BC. Irving Finkel has embarked upon the ancient ghost hunt, scouring these tablets to unlock the secrets of the Sumerians, Babylonians, and the Assyrians, to breathe new life into the first ghost stories ever written. In The First Ghost, he uncovers the extraordinary rich seam of ancient spirit wisdom, which has remained hidden for nearly 4,000 years, covering practical details of how we live with ghosts, how we get rid of them, and how to bring them back, and how to avoid becoming one, as well as exploring more philosophical questions. What are ghosts? Why does the idea of them remain so powerful despite lack of concrete evidence? And what do they tell us about being human? So again, thank you, Alice, in advance. And the final one, Uncle's voucher got me. I didn't realise it was signed when I ordered it. I love it when I get a signed book and I'm not expecting it. Also means I can't scribble in it. I made that mistake with a Salman Rushdie book. I thought it was... I got a second hand for £3, started scribbling in it, the Satanic Verses as well from the 1980s, and it was signed. So we learn the hard way. But this one my uncle got me, and it is The Devil's Atlas. I love these atlases. I believe the Phantom Atlas is by the same author. I could be wrong, but he does a series of them. I know the Madmen's Library is by him, and I've asked for that for Christmas. Hopefully I may get that for Christmas. But I love, seriously, this collection of books. When I saw there was a Devil's Atlas, I was like, yes, I'm all about it. Thank you very much for bringing this out. I'm using that for my voucher. Again, I should have stuck to my PhD books. I know, but there's no fun in that, is there? So, oh, it is the Phantom Atlas. I was right. Whether it's the 13th century heavens of the Aztecs, the Chinese Taoist netherworld of hungry ghosts, or the hell of the flaming rooster of Japanese Buddhist mythology, in which sinners are tormented by an enormous fire-breathing cockerel, the Devil's Atlas gathers together a wonderful variety of beliefs, representations of life and death. These afterworlds are illustrated with an unprecedented collection of images ranging from the marvellous infernal cartography of the European Renaissance artists attempting to map the structured hell described by Dante, and the decorative Islamic depictions of the paradise lives to the various efforts to map the Garden of Eden and the spiritual vision paintings of the 19th century mediums. The Devil's Atlas accompanies beautiful images with highly readable trove of fascinating facts and narratives, from the more inventive torture methods awaiting sinners to colourful eccentric categories of demons, angels and assorted death deities. A traveller's guide to the worlds unseen, The Devil's Atlas is a fascinating study to the boundless capacity of human invention and visual chronicle of man's hopes, fears, fantasies and what lies beyond. That was an uncomfortable sound, wasn't it? It's a waxy book as well. I'm one of those that's just very fascinated with waxy books. The one book I'm not a fan of the texture of, this is a weird side note, but this is, again, it's one of those kind of sandpapery feeling covers. I'm not entirely sure why they keep making these books. It isn't, to me, maybe for someone else, but this isn't tactile for me. I'm not enjoying it. This, however, I'm all about feeling at the Devil's Atlas, that's for sure. A good old waxy book. My business cards arrived this week and they're also waxy, and I'm just literally I mean, it's not very COVID safe, is it? But I'm just like stroking my business card over and over again by myself. We're not going to say anything about that, are we? So yes, I hope you enjoyed this haul of my birthday books. Hopefully I may get some books for Christmas. I can do another haul in January and then there won't be any hauls after that. Just book reviews of these books. Hopefully I'll get to them. PhD is taking up a lot of time. Hopefully, and I say hopefully, I need to cut down my work and earn less money to make more space for PhD. But hopefully I can get to a point where I'm actually, I mean, I'm earning less money, I accept that. But I hopefully get to a point where I can read for fun again. Maybe, hopefully, maybe that's the kind of space that I have in my life. I have no idea. But yeah. Those are my books. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want any of the books, please consider buying from my links down below. And I will see you tomorrow for another video. And remember, books save lives, so keep reading.